All right. So first up, my first guest is Ms. Ameerah Barker, and she is the founder and CEO of Scar Power. And it is a platform created to empower women with scars and imperfections who may feel they are less than, not enough, or unworthy. Ameerah is a New Jersey native and is an award-winning project manager and former NFL cheerleader who has had a vision to uplift, to inspire, and to change the mindset of women by creating content that speaks directly to their needs of releasing fears and societal pressure around body image. Ameerah will share her battle with a chemical burn on her chest that produced keloiding and her path through it. Hello, hello, and welcome to the Flow in Your Flaw Summit. I am Dr. Marcea, and I am your Master Destiny Life Coach. And I am so excited for you to be here for this summit. And I'm just going to jump right in. I have my amazing guest, Ameerah. She is here from Scar Power. And I just want to welcome you to the summit. And just right off, just tell us who you are.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for doing this because this is so needed and this is right up my alley. So I'm the founder. My name is Ameerah Barker. I'm the founder and CEO of Scar Power. My mission is to educate and empower women with scars to overcome their insecurities, build confidence, and step into their power. Now, before I get into my story, I just want to talk about the meaning of Scar Power. So Scar Power is actually a play on the term star power, right? So when we think about star power, we think about celebrities, we think about their influence and their authority. And I believe that our scars can do the same for us. But it's all in the way that we view it, and it's all in the way that we view use our scars. We got to do that in the right way, right? We have to get out of our scar story, which is also the victim mentality that we have. Like, oh, I have a scar, it's the end of my life, that kind of thing. And Scar Power is also about repurposing your scars, right? Using your scars to power you instead of restrict you, which, that was something that I did for myself for a long time. People always ask me too, like, okay, well, what kind of scars are you talking about? Are you talking about the mental scars? Are you talking about the physical scars? I'm talking about both, right? Because Scar Power covers both. Because our physical scars tend to turn into our mental scars, right? And that is what restricts us. And I would just want to differentiate between scars and mental illness, or the way that I view the term scars. So scars is like, if you're picked on at school when you were a child and you grew up as an adult and now you're, feeling insufficient, insecure, that type of thing, or you're in a bad relationship and it ended terribly wrong. Like that's a scar, which is a little different from mental illness. So I just wanted to differentiate that. A little bit more, so my logo is Scar Power, and I have a tagline that's called, it's presence, freedom, authenticity. Now, I don't know if you've seen the movie A Wrinkle in Time with Oprah Winfrey.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cute little movie, but in the movie, Oprah's character has a line that she says, and it's, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And I'm just like, oh, that is so amazing.
Say it again.
The wound is the place where the light enters you.
Wow.
And I'm just like, okay, I have to use this in some way, right? So my tagline is actually explained in terms of the light. So presence means stepping into the light, right? And knowing who you are and whose you are, because we're all made of something bigger than us, right? Being consciously present and aware of the power that you possess. Freedom means becoming the light, breaking free from your old story and creating a new identity, letting go of your past to become free. And authenticity means shining your light, being your true self in full spirit, uninhibited by fear, by other people's opinions, and even your own opinions and limitations that you have. So it just, means free to be who you truly are. So I just wanted to, talk about Scar Power for a minute before I got into my story.
That is amazing, amazing. So let's hear your story. Tell me your scar, your story.
Yeah, so I have keloid skin. And so basically what that means is that if I get any kind of a trauma or scratch to the skin, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it can result in a keloid, which is an overgrowth of skin cells, which means it's like a raised bubble on your skin. And so back in the early 2000s, maybe 2003, 2004, I used to wear a small cross diamond chain, like right in the middle of my chest, and it scratched me there. And so that scratch turned into a keloid. And at first it was small, but then over the years, it started to get a little bigger and bigger, and I became more and more self-conscious about it. So I decided to go to a plastic surgeon and get it removed. During the healing process, the surgeon told me to use a cream called Ameerah cream, which resulted in a chemical burn. So as you can see, my scar is pretty big and wide across my chest. And it's because of the burn, and then the burn keloided up. So now I have a scar that's like 100 times worse than what it was before. And after that, I went to another plastic surgeon to see what it is that I could do about the scar. And with him, I actually had 2 additional surgeries. And so the difference with the surgeries with him was that we use steroid injections, and that's what helped keeps the steroid flat. So it keeps it from overgrowing or overhealing to create the raised scar. And so the first surgery went well, but then the second surgery, the skin started to raise a little bit more. So we're like, okay, let's just stop with the surgeries and just focus on the steroid injections. So that's what I've been doing. I've been getting steroid injections for the past 13 years.
Wow.
I still get them to this day. And majority of probably about 85–90% of my skin, my scar is flat, and it doesn't raise up anymore, and it don't raise up anymore, but there's a few sections that still do. So when I go, I just get, those sections treated so it can just stay flat. But all of this led to me, 12 years, I did not show the scar. I was pretty much in hiding. I felt trapped in my body. I wasn't able to do the things that I want to do, wear the clothes that I wanted to wear. And now I don't know if you remember the girl from Dr. Phil, when she said, "Cash me outside." I think she's like a millionaire now, but you wouldn't cash me outside wearing anything that showed this scar. So, now it's a little bit different, but before you would not catch me.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, I know that trap feeling, and just your journey of something that started off small, and then as time progressed, things just got worse. Now, one thing that I also know about you is that you are a former NFL cheerleader.
Yes.
And so when you go into, I guess, that world, the same thing like in a beauty pageant kind of a world. And I just want to say that you are an amazingly beautiful woman, and I applaud you, and just for your story and just for sharing it. But tell me how that world made you feel, and made you feel about your scar and who you were.
Well, so, when I was on the Ravens, I think it was like at the very beginning of when I got scratched. So the keloid I had was like very small. So it didn't really play a role in, me being a cheerleader, but it played a role in who I thought about myself, right? Because when you're in that world, you're like, I'm the popular girl, I'm pretty, I'm this, I'm that. And then you all of a sudden get a scar like this. I mean, your confidence points just drops down, down pretty low. So I think that's what also kept me trapped, because I had to deal with how I thought about myself, and all of a sudden it just changed. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty huge. What do you tell women, girls these days about just that, about how you see yourself in your world?
How I see myself right now, it's like I know that I'm not my scar, and the girls aren't either. Like there's so much more, they're so much bigger. They're just this big personality, they have family, they have friends, and it's like you can't just focus on the scar. There's other stuff in your life that you are. And by focusing on the scar, you're just restricting yourself in your life, and you're not shining your light because of that. So you just need to focus, switch your mindset and focus on that piece.
Did you have anybody in your life who was speaking that message to you?
I did not. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is a key piece to
Mhm.
your story, to my story, is
Yep.
that we didn't have someone to say, hey, you are not your scar, you are not your flaw.
Yes.
And that is the
Mhm.
difference that changes the trajectory
Yep.
of the people who we touch.
Yes. And it's actually funny because when I first started the company and I got on Instagram, I started meeting these different companies or these different women. And it's like, I thought I was alone, and so there's other people out here that's like me too. But of course you don't see them because, on one part, we want to be seen, but at the same time, we're afraid to be seen.
Yes.
So
Yes. And we're also, even though we hate to say it, maybe, is that even though we don't want to have to need validation from others,
yes.
we do.
Yep.
We
And
do.
that's a big piece.
We want it,
Yes.
but it can't be all, we can't rely 100% on what others think, because then
Absolutely.
it's that trapped state. And
Yes.
so what is your method? I know you just said you were the CEO and founder of Scar Power.
Yep.
How do you help women transition from where they think the scar is who they are to now the scar is, I'm not my scar?
Right. Okay. So a little bit more about my story. So how I got out of my scar story was in January of 2021, I did like a bunch of self-development, like 8 months continuous from January to August. I don't know if you know who Tony Robbins is.
Yes.
I'm sure you probably do. Everybody does.
Yes.
But I attended 5 of his seminars pretty much in a row. I attended, I purchased self-development courses, I journaled, I meditated, I did activities out of my comfort zone because I was just looking for something because I felt trapped, right? And so that started to help me shift my mindset about who I was and what I wanted, because I needed growth, right? I wanted to do stuff. I wanted to wear a bathing suit, but I was scared to, you know? And so at that seminar, they talked about role models. Oh, you don't have to recreate the wheel. You find a role model that want to do what you want to do.
Mhm.
And so, like you said, I don't really know anybody that's out there giving me that message, right? So it literally was like an epiphany of the company. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll be my own role model, right? Like I'll start to create things that I want to see, things that I want to hear. And I'm sure there's a lot of other women out there too that need that message and will follow me in that. It's funny because when I actually started the company, I was still afraid to show my scar. So I'm like, okay, well, how am I gonna start this company and be like, hey girls, follow me, you're beautiful, whatever, and I'm not showing my scar, right? So that's how I started going into the different offerings that I have for my company, because I'm like, okay, first I'll start a blog. I'll write about my journey, you know what I mean? And then people will learn who I am. And then eventually that'll lead to me being free and be like, okay, I can show my scar now. So I actually have a blog. I actually have a platform also called Scarlights, because I didn't want the company to be just about me. Even though it's me and my story, it's like, everybody's going to see me on Instagram and Facebook every day, like, hey, I have a scar. Hey, I have a scar. Oh, by the way, hey, I have a scar. And it's like, okay, I got to do something differently. So Scarlights is actually a platform where other women submit their stories to me, and I post them on my website and on my social media. And it's awesome because I get to learn a lot of different stories and meet a lot of different women. So that's how I incorporate other people into Scar Power. I also have logo apparel, because it's like when people see you and they see your scars, it's like that's all they see, right? But I'm like, I need something that if I'm wearing it, they'll see my scar, then they'll see Scar Power, and then they'll get it, right? It's like, oh, okay, she knows she has a scar, she's not afraid, she's confident, or whatever. I'm actually wearing, I don't know if you can see, but the Scar Power tank top, and I think I have it on the promo
Yeah, it's cute. I
picture
like
as
it.
well. So I have those in black and white that you can buy on my website, along with t-shirts and sweatshirts that you can get. Also, I have a book club. It's called Power Books, the Mastermind Book Club. And so basically that was my way of kind of giving back to the self-development world, because books helped me a lot, because I love to read. So all of those shifts and things that I was getting, a lot of them was from books. So I'm like, okay, how can I, bring other women in? We build a community, we talk about different concepts, we help each other, through our story, because again, we didn't have that support.
Absolutely.
So, the book club is my way of kind of giving that back as well. I also do webinars like this called Scar Talk. So the first webinar I actually did with my doctor that I have been seeing for the past 13 years. We talked about keloid and hypertrophic scars. So you can go back and view that as well. And I got a lot going on. I'm almost done. I have special events, right? So last November, I did an event called Model Scars Photo Shoot. And basically what that was, I put a note out for models with scars, or anybody with scars, women. And we'll get together, we, do our hair, do our makeup, and we just take some photos and look pretty, right? Because again, we are not our scars, we're so much more, and we're still beautiful.
Yes.
And I have those pictures on my website, and I think I might do it again this year, but I have a lot of stuff going on, but we'll see. So I had that, and now I actually have Scarlight Coaching. And this is something brand new that I have been working on for a little bit, and it's actually not open yet. You can sign up to be on the wait list. I'm still working on a few things, but this coaching program is actually for women that were like me, right? Who are afraid to show their scars, but they are tired of not doing it. And they want to start to build their mindset to get out of their scars. So it's called Scars to Confidence Foundations, and it's a beta program that I'll be doing here soon. And it's hybrid. It's going to be one-on-one plus group coaching, because I think that support from other women is huge. So
got it. A lot of amazing things that's going on in your life. And if you could, I understand you had a Tony Robbins influence with going to getting coaching or being in the space when he's been coaching. And so if you could tell a woman, if you could just share maybe two or three things that you would want them to take away from your transformation, what would they be?
Well, one, absolutely, you are not your scars. That's just the number one overall, thing that I always say that I have, like, you have to know that your scars is a small part of who you are. So, you have to begin that shift. Two is self-development. Like, that was the biggest transformation for me. You have to be able to shift from your external world into your internal world, right? You got to start seeing differently and seeing yourself in a different way. So that's the biggest two things, that shifts that I think that women should understand.
That is awesome. And I know that I believe every woman has that thing that they hate about themselves, that thing that they don't like, that they wish they didn't have it. They prefer to have someone else's thing, right?
Right. Exactly.
And so I think every woman in the world has that thing, and there's a transition that can happen so that their confidence can be built up. And one of the things you said is that I love is that story, is a line from the Oprah Winfrey movie, that the wound is the place where the light enters. And I am 100% in belief that our flaw, our scar, is actually our superpower.
It is.
And as we lean into it, instead of running from it, that's when we start to find our way, we find our purpose, we find where we're supposed to be. And so if I ask that question to you, if in terms of what positive thing the scar led you to, what would you say?
Freedom.
Freedom.
Freedom, yes. Internal freedom, which actually led to external freedom, right? It allowed me to live and not just be, because we only have one life to live, and you got to live it to the fullest, and you can't be stuck in your scar story all the time, on your deathbed, oh, I wish I would have wore that bathing suit, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, just gaining freedom.
Yeah. Awesome. And so going back to not having people when you were struggling, when you were going through, to
Mhm.
speak life to you, what is your what's your vision for the future in terms of how you would want other women to embrace those with scars, and also how they embrace themselves?
I just want them to be free to, right? I mean, because society has their beauty standards, right? And a lot of what we see in ads in social media, on Instagram, Snapchat filters, all that stuff, right? It's like we lose a bit of ourselves every time we click on something, or we judge ourselves based on that, or put ourselves up against that. So my vision is to have a world where it's inclusive for everybody, for all of us, and women not feeling so afraid to show and be who they are.
Mhm. Awesome. Awesome. So I wrote a book recently. It's called Mark from Birth, the
Yeah, I
transformational
saw that.
journey from flawed to fabulous. And in it, I talk about uh, side effects. And
Okay.
in every medication in that's made, there's potential for side effects. And I
Mhm.
use that as an example. And I'm also a physician, so it kind of made sense that
Right.
as even the flaw or the scar that we have also has side effects. It has the thing that it actually caused,
Mhm.
but then it has where you see your flaw, your scar showing up in other areas of your life.
Okay.
Can you speak to that in terms of your scar?
Oh, yeah, that is a big one. That is for sure, because when you feel trapped, in your scar story, it tends to move its way to other things in your life, and then you don't know it's because of your scar that you're doing this or you're feeling this. But for me specifically, I would say that some of the breakdown of my marriage was probably a residual from my scar, just because I felt trapped in it and I thought it was my marriage that I felt trapped in. But looking back, it's like, okay, I see how that played a part in it. So it's definitely some residuals that can lead from your star.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just so I feel that. I feel that 100%. And
Yep.
the thing that I will share is that, so I have this green birthmark on my face, and it was
Hmm.
something that I hated when I was a kid, that it took me through college for me to stop covering it up. I had bangs, I wore glasses, I put makeup on it, and I was a horrible makeup person. I got adapted. I had no idea what concealer was. There was
Right.
there was no brush technique. It was just, okay, I put it on there and then I'm gone, right? And so it's kind of like the guy with the comb over,
Yeah.
who's bald. Everybody knows he's bald, right? Everybody knows he's bald, but he's covering it up. So I got to a
Hmm.
place where I was over it. I was over it. But what I figured out was that I still had the side effects. And so I ended up gravitating to guys who liked me as opposed to the guys that I liked.
Right.
And so that
Right.
led me down a narcissistic relationship route.
Yeah.
And some other things happened with that. But what it did, it was a side effect that I hadn't realized until it was, I'm not going to say too late. I'm just going to say
Right.
later. And so,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, love is that's a tough one, especially for women with scars. I have a friend who wants to be in a relationship, but she has keloid scars and she's just so insecure about them and she's afraid. And I'm like, listen, in order for you to meet someone, you have to start loving yourself, because you're going to meet somebody that's going to take advantage of who you are, of how you feel about yourself. They're just going to reflect that back to you, and it's
Yes,
not going to be a good relationship.
yes,
So let's work on you first.
yes, yes. Awesome. Yes. And so, for those that are watching, I just want to also make a comment that even as we both have our individual stories, they are tracking the same way. And
Yes.
and we're still a work in progress.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
We haven't quote unquote arrived and gotten over it, but we're making progress. Even as you mentioned about you starting your business and you still
Mhm.
weren't ready to show your scar.
Right.
That business startup was part of your journey.
It
And
was.
and so as you're listening, there's a journey to be had. And the only thing that we can do is to start taking steps. And as we start taking steps,
Exactly.
the journey, the pathway is going to open up. And so now Ameerah has a whole company with different facets to help women who are dealing with their scar, who are trapped. And she's helping you find the light. And I love the three words, presence,
And
freedom,
freedom,
and
authenticity.
authenticity.
Yeah. And so one of the things is, so as I started my company and started to get out of my scar story, it's like I now think, even if I have any inkling of like, oh, I don't want to go because they're going to be looking at my scar, it's like, okay, I have to do this for the women that can't. Right. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And there's
Yes.
courage and
Mhm.
loving yourself more than, I mean, we hide all day long.
Mhm.
And not only is that affecting us, but we're hiding, it's affecting the people who are looking at us for strength.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. Are there, can you tell me where they can find you? And then any final thoughts that you have?
Yes. So my website is scarpower.co. All of my social media is at scarpowerco. So not to confuse the two, website scarpower.co, social media at scarpowerco, all one word. And so I actually have a quote that I saw recently online from Trevor Noah. And he says, we spend so much time being afraid of failure, afraid of rejection, but regret is the thing that we should fear most. Failure is an answer. Rejection is an answer. Regret is an eternal question you will never have the answer to. And I
Hmm.
was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. That is good. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Ameerah, for being a guest.
absolutely.
I really enjoyed meeting you and having you on this summit. Please reach out to Ameerah at scarpower.co. And I look forward to seeing you for the later interviews. And until then, we'll see you. Take care.
Thank
Hey
you.
guys, thank you so much for attending the Flow in Your Flaw Summit with Dr. Marcea Whitaker. It has been an honor to be a guest. As a gift from Scar Power, I like to give you a free mini training. I call it mini because it's really only 16 minutes long. The training is called What Do I Need? Discovering Your Internal Drives. This training is based on the Tony Robbins philosophy of the 6 human needs. In the training, I discuss what the needs are, how they help me to get out of my scar story, and how they can help you as well. You can go to scarpower.co and sign up to get that training straight to your email. Thanks again. I hope you've enjoyed my story, and I'll see you soon. Bye.